All right, we're gonna like shake it out. We're gonna move around. Is everyone all comfy and cozy and ready to go? I love the frogs in the back.
Thank you. Oh, you know what? Let
How
me
much?
get my emotional support squishmallow here.
Love it, love it. Oh, wait. I think I have an emotional support squishmallow. Hold on.
Yes.
Listen. I can't get you.
Oh my goodness, yes.
Yeah, hold on. I only have like 7, but
Okay.
Yeah. No, I'm not allowed to have more than 10.
Happened to one.
I know it started with 1. So this is I don't know her name, but this is something from Lex Play. So yeah, and I like the nature oriented ones. So
oh yes,
yeah,
amazing.
So, yes. Okay, so we have our emotional support squishmallows all ready to go.
Good to go.
And we are starting recording in 5, 4, 3, 2, and 1. Hello, friends, and welcome to Gamers Gab, the podcast by gamers for gamers. I'm Artsy from the Artsy Gamer. I make art, I play games, and I encourage others to do the same. And joining me today for an incredible episode that I have been looking forward to for the last month preparing is Raven from froggycrossing. So Raven, before we get started and talking about the aesthetics behind you and your channel, if you would, give us a brief introduction of who you are and what you do, and your pronouns, please and thank you.
My name is Raven. You can call me Raven or Froggy, and I run the froggycrossing channel on YouTube. My pronouns are she, her, and I started off by playing Animal Crossing in 2020, as we all did. And I just got so hyper focused on the game, and I needed to spread my Animal Crossing feelings, everything with somebody, got to spread it everywhere. So I started a YouTube channel, and now it has blown up when I didn't even mean for it to. And I'm currently doing half Animal Crossing, half Squishmallow, sometimes vlogs. We don't know. So many things going on there.
So Raven, I think before you started, as you said, popping off, I thought of you as the kidcore content creator. Like that was your vibe. You were very colorful, very vibrant. You prioritized what we would consider the kidcore aesthetic with your designs. Even with farmcore, it's very cutesy, very childlike, very whimsical. And then it progressed and evolved into what froggycrossing is known for, even in your IRL face, because I think originally froggycrossing you didn't show your face until later, and so we have an expectation of what Raven from froggycrossing looks like and acts like, and what you put on your channel. And the reason why I reached out to Raven Friends is because during one of her most recent vlogs, I think within the last month, you were saying that the aesthetic of froggycrossing bleeds over a little bit into your real life, but it doesn't really. It's very different. And I'm not trying to say that Raven is like a fake person or anything. You were very genuine, very loving and warm. And it's very clear that you love your squishmallows, like,
thank you.
Obviously. But yeah, but I am really excited to get into this conversation about how the aesthetics have defined and evolved over the last couple of years. So how did the aesthetic for froggycrossing develop? It's kind of like the chicken before the egg question, and we can dive into how it correlates to your kidcore designs as well. But let's start with that. Like, how did the aesthetic form?
Sure. So there's definitely a lot of elements to it. I might get a little deep here right off the bat. First question.
It's okay.
So I would say child Raven definitely had a big part in it. Definitely my childhood growing up, I was obsessed with plushies since, the start. I had Webkins. I don't know if you've heard of Webkins. Had this huge Webkins collections, had all kinds of plushies when I was a kid. So it started young. It started young. So I was like very much into them. But fast forward to kind of around, I think it was in middle school, my parents actually got divorced, and my dad unfortunately left, and it was just my mom and then me as the oldest of 5 kids. So,
wow.
So she had to go to work, and, I kind of took on that role of like mom number 2 a little bit. There's a significant age difference between me and like my youngest sibling. So I kind of felt that pressure to like grow up a little bit, kind of like figure things out very quickly, you know, like I didn't really have time to like keep playing with my webkins or do any of that kind of stuff. I was just kind of trying to figure it out. So, fast forward to when I start doing YouTube. I started doing Fairy Core. That's the first island that I started with, and then I had this. I started to find out about the kid core aesthetic, and I was like, okay, that seems cool. Like, it's a lot of kind of like connecting back with your childhood and kind of like bright colors and stuff like that. And I'm like, okay, I've always liked that stuff since childhood. So I was like, all right, let's give it a shot. And it kind of went from there. Once I started doing it, I think like spring and summer of 2021 is when I really started leaning hard into it. Once I did the face reveal and like you said, all that kind of stuff, and it just kind of opened the doors for me to start incorporating that kind of aesthetic and style into like my real life, like my decor, how I dress, stuff like that. So definitely, you know, childhood Raven got the roots, the seeds were planted, and then after I started doing the Kid Core Island, it definitely just helped me blossom all around with that.
What I'm hearing is that this is more of like healing the inner child trauma of having to grow up really quickly due to the
Definitely.
fact. Yeah. What is, if you don't mind me asking, what is the age difference between you and your youngest sibling?
So I'm 23 and he's about to be 15.
Wow.
I think. So
Yeah. Wow.
yeah, he was still really young. So
I wouldn't say that this is therapy for you, but it is a very healing experience to get to effectively not only play Animal Crossing during a very traumatic time for everybody, where you get to reconnect with your inner child in a very significant way. Where does the line, you know, where do you draw the line in the sand between the aesthetic of Froggy Crossing, where it's very childlike and whimsical, and where does it stop with real life interactions and, you know, going outside where in your state and interacting with people professionally?
let's see. Well, technically there is a physical IRL hard line, and that is my doorway of my room. That's right here. The rest of my place where I live is not like this. This is, you walk in here and it's like, whoa, you know. So at least in real life with my living situation and everything, the rest of the house is not really like this. Except for like my earring collection on my dresser. I guess that's the only other place. But yeah, you mentioned like professionally and stuff like that. Yeah, I typically don't incorporate any sort of that kind of Froggy Crossing aesthetic in the few professional environments that I'm in, at least IRL. You know, I guess there's something to be said with professional environments, maybe online with other content creators, then that's a little bit different. But yeah, there's definitely some elements that I like fashion wise that I will still bring into, like if I'm just going out and whatever, you know, throw on my cute little cardigan or something like that, put on some fun earrings. Of course, if like people that I know come over, like, you know, sometimes the plushies, the squishmallows get migrated to other rooms, whatever. But for the most part, I think like most people, if we're just out running errands, if we're just out doing casual stuff, I'm just wearing jeans and t-shirt, stuff like that. But unfortunately, there's another aspect of it, which is a little more on the negative side, and it's just like an unfortunate reality of my life personally. I am very conscious of what I like wear. So we're talking about like aesthetic and like my fashion choices specifically when I'm going out, especially alone, because as a woman, unfortunately, there will be times when I am approached by people, approached by men, kind of like, thankfully not harassed, but in creepy and awkward situations. And I have felt that sometimes it is because of like what I'm wearing, unfortunately, and that shouldn't be the case at all. Like, you know, I should just be able to wear whatever I want and just feel safe and fine. But, you know, unfortunately, there's times where I'm like in the middle of Target doing my groceries and this guy's being creepy to me. And I'm like, what the heck is going on here? So just having those experiences has made me like really conscious of my safety and like my surroundings and everything like that. So unfortunately, I felt the need to just be really careful with like stuff that I wear if I'm going out alone, especially without like my boyfriend or anything. I don't want to bring the froggy crossing aesthetic outside because it's like kind of like drawing more attention to myself. I do wear very fun out there things. I've got like my hot pink pants with hearts all over them and my fun shoes. And unfortunately, and it's so irritating and just like disheartening that I have to be the one to like prevent stuff from happening. Just, you know, changing my clothes. Like, why do I have to fix it? You fix it. Don't be creepy.
Fix your societal expectations of women and, you know, the fact that we're not inviting people for compliments because of what we wear. I know.
Exactly. So unfortunately, the froggy crossing aesthetic doesn't really get transferred over in real life when I'm out by myself and stuff like that. I'm throwing on a hoodie, the baggy jeans, all of that kind of stuff, just because it's an unfortunate reality. So I do try to be conscious of that. But if I'm going out with people, I'll maybe be a little more brave. But for the most part, I feel much more safe and secure just filming in here in the Squishmallow room. And I know that I have an audience that supports me and loves whatever I choose to wear, whatever silly things I choose to put on. So yeah, I would say that's unfortunately where the line gets drawn for the aesthetic, at least like fashion wise.
What I find really interesting, and I know that we talk about kind of the negative consequences with not being able to, I guess, share the froggy crossing just with everyday life. Do you wish you could do that? Is that something that you would love to do?
Do wish I could do that. I would, if, you know, safety concerns aside, I would love to just be that person who you see on the street and it's like, oh, look at her. She's got like that crazy outfit on, you know? Like, I don't mind if people are just staring at me because they're like, oh, what's that? I don't mind that. I mind the creepy stares. Creepy stares is what I don't want. So yeah, I do wish I could do that. I do wish I could just go out and just like totally be myself and express myself like every single place that I go. But unfortunately, I can't all the time.
You went from like, I think you started your YouTube journey with roughly 120 subscribers. And I think what I love most about your vlogs is that you trickle in serious components of your life. Because I remember specifically that you talked about being approached in Target and how you're like, you were trying to like calm down and be like, it feels weird. I don't like that. And then you start talking about how you're wanting to start a scholarship program for college for froggy crossing, which is incredible. And so there are new aspects of professionalism that are being incorporated into froggy crossing. But I think what is such a disservice is that I think people assume that you have no business know-how, and you really do. You are in your early 20s. You know, oh my God. Raven, I have to say, like, I love the whimsy, but the fact that you record the hours of work that you do for editing videos, that you talk about creating a scholarship for college, that you participated in a Make-A-Wish Foundation for a young child who wanted to meet you in real life. It's like you do have the business know-how. And so I'm really curious if you've had instances where professionally people have assumed wrongly that you don't know what you're talking about.
So, well, thank you, by the way, for the sweet compliments. I really appreciate it. So I actually haven't, I haven't had any of those experiences. I do anxiously think about those experiences potentially happening. That's something that I definitely think about. I get fearful and I start to overthink things and play the comparison game, which is not a game you should play. And I start to think like, oh, what if people don't take me seriously, you know, kind of stuff like that. Thankfully, the few business interactions that I do have, like I work with an agency and stuff like that, and with emails with sponsors like that, they do take me seriously, thankfully. Which I do think maybe my subscriber count attributes to that. People may take a look at my videos and be like, you know, but then they see the subscriber count and they're like, okay, maybe we should, which is unfortunate because I think, you know, you should take everyone seriously regardless. That number shouldn't matter that much, but thankfully it hasn't happened to me personally yet.
I know that we've been kind of talking about heavy stuff and we can continue because I'm really curious about how you perhaps may feel limited. You have built truly the froggy empire over in the Animal Crossing world. And, you know, when people work with you with the agency, I don't know what it would be like to suddenly have what you were talking about with an aesthetic crisis, a style crisis. I love your haircut, by the way. It looks beautiful.
Thank you.
But
Thank you.
how has the froggy crossing aesthetic been limiting to either the content that you create or business opportunities that have come your way?
Thankfully, I don't really feel that it's been that limiting, which is very, very amazing, and I'm very grateful for that. So, like, pretty much the core of the froggy crossing aesthetic is kind of just like, you know, all the fun, whimsy, child's healing inner child type of stuff, and just whatever like brings me joy and makes me feel inspired and makes me feel happy. That's kind of like the core of the aesthetic. So thankfully my content and everything like that kind of aligns with that kind of like core of the aesthetic. It's just me doing what I want, me expressing myself how I want, me making this aesthetic how I want, and it all kind of aligns. So I don't really feel like I have that many limitations. Maybe like tiny minor things like, hey, I want to kind of dabble in like super aesthetic vlogs, like the people who have like white backgrounds and like they're making everything so aesthetic with like their HD camera and stuff like that. But I've got this background, so I feel like I can't even do that even if I wanted to, because we're stuck with the squishmallows for a while. But I would say even if I did really want to try to do, for example, like a super aesthetic, like clean kind of vlog, maybe I would start to second guess it and maybe end up not posting it, because I feel like my audience does come to me for that curated aesthetic, and they've come to know and love the Froggy Crossing branding. And that's what they want to see, you know, like people want to see the squishmallows, people want to see the cute custom designs, people want to see the fun Animal Crossing content, all that kind of stuff. So I hesitate to branch off of that, which is fine because that aligns with the things that I love to do anyway. Like that's what I'm going to do anyway. But I would hesitate to kind of like dabble in different stuff like that. So not really a limitation. I wouldn't say it's that bad, but that's maybe one of them. And yeah, I guess going back to kind of like that self-doubt I was talking about, that kind of also applies. Like I start to think like, am I limited by this aesthetic that I chose? Like, are other content creators that I look up to not going to take me seriously because this is the aesthetic that I chose? You know, like you said, very childlike and full of whimsy and inner child healing. Like, although I don't think that's a reason to not take someone seriously, but I may be biased. Maybe other people feel that way. So thankfully that hasn't happened yet. No other creators have ever been like that, but it's just like that self-doubt, that little worm in your brain that tells you negative things.
Yeah.
So that's not really a limitation. It's more of kind of like, I guess, yeah, like self-doubt, like I mentioned. But thankfully not really any like tangible limitations that I've noticed so far.
Well, we can also move to the positive part of your aesthetic, is that I think when Animal Crossing New Horizons started showing an expiration date with the content that people wanted to watch, and thankfully it's come back again with various new things with like the hard mode challenge and just people will not let this game die. You took the plunge to incorporate the other things that you love, and it incorporates Squishmallow, it incorporates thrifting, and is it crochet or knitting?
Crochet.
Yeah. So how has the aesthetic really celebrated the things that you already were doing and you wanted to apply it to your channel?
I mean, yeah, you put it perfectly. The aesthetic has celebrated those things. Like, again, the kind of core of everything is just whatever Raven likes, whatever whatever's bringing Raven joy right now. But of course I want to apply those things in a methodical way to my channel. I don't want to just throw things at the wall like, hey, I kind of like playing Call of Duty right now. I'm not going to put up random Call of Duty videos out of nowhere. Which I don't, just for the record. That was just an example. But
I was thinking, like, do you and Lex play do Call of Duty together? That sounds like something that I would love to watch.
No, that would be chaotic for sure. I would be here for it though. thankfully my kind of aesthetic is just those fun things, those inner child things, those brightly colored things. So I can easily incorporate crocheting and, you know, give it a little bit of a Animal Crossing spin or a Squishmallow spin, and, you know, use fun yarns and create like really fun things and just make the video really fun and just kind of line it up with the aesthetic. And it's, again, like you said, something I was already doing. So
Mhm.
that is definitely a big positive of having this like defined aesthetic, is that it lines up with what I'm into right now and just kind of me and my interests right now. So I can easily just like mush everything together and make content out of stuff that I feel like maybe if I didn't have this aesthetic, maybe it wouldn't be as successful, or maybe I wouldn't be as motivated to do it, or maybe I just wouldn't do it in the first place. So it's definitely a huge plus. And um I feel like having that defined aesthetic kind of like just helps me be recognizable across the board, like on YouTube and on my socials and stuff, and really attracts like-minded people, which of course, but
Mhm.
it's still something to be said that I'm cultivating an audience that is also into these similar things, and we all kind of riff off of each other and give each other, you know, they give me ideas, and you know, I give them ideas for which squishmallows to buy, all that kind of good stuff. So it's fostering like a cute, adorable little fun community that we all love the same stuff. So those are the positives.
Well,
Definitely outweigh any negatives, if any.
well, you wouldn't continue on with it if it didn't bring you joy. I think that's one thing that often we experience with being a content creator is if we are experiencing burnout, we need to really ask the hard question of whether or not we need to continue with it because it just doesn't bring us
Hmm.
joy anymore. And
Exactly.
we have a viewer in that's watching right now, whose name is Debos, and they mentioned that you and your boyfriend play Untitled Goose Game, which I was bullied into buying, and I had the best time because it's chaotic, it's adorable. We all have some sort of foul trauma with regards to
Hmm.
ducks and goose during the winter or whatever for migration. So, what games do you play? Or let me ask this differently. How does the froggy crossing aesthetic apply to the games that you choose to play? I don't know if Call of Duty was actually like serious, but I'm really
Yeah.
curious to hear if the childlike whimsy is a preference for which games that you play and then in addition which games that you feature.
Hmm. Definitely, for sure. I am definitely just more drawn to games that kind of have those elements, you know, like similar to Animal Crossing, the gameplay, the aesthetics, the customization, all that kind of fun stuff. You know, I love everything Stardew, Animal
Mm-hmm.
Crossing, Terraria, all that kind of Minecraft. You know, a lot of those. All of those games pretty much allow you to kind of like express yourself and do a
Mm-hmm.
bunch of fun things, and you just kind of go your own way and make your own path and dress up your character, put furniture, you know, all that kind of fun stuff where I can really customize it and make it part of my aesthetic, and, you know, make it really uh, defined, Froggy Crossing defined. So I would definitely say that uh, the aesthetics of games themselves,
Mm-hmm.
if they line up with my aesthetic, then hey, it's a perfect match. But there's occasional outliers, of course. You know, going back to the core, it's what Raven likes to play.
Mm-hmm.
So if there's something that's kind of out of left field, but I'm still having fun, then that's totally fine. I don't like hard limit myself on the stuff that I personally play, like on my own downtime,
Mm-hmm.
just based on aesthetic. But it definitely is skewed towards cute stuff. Like I recently have been really into Magic the Gathering. It's a
Mm-hmm.
card game, and it's very kind of like dark fantasy and definitely not my aesthetic
Mm-hmm.
whatsoever. But I enjoy the mechanics and the gameplay, and there's actually elements of it that I kind of am turning into a whole Froggy Crossing thing, considering
Ooh.
talking about it more onto my channel, because you can like accessorize, like you get your play mats, you have your dice bags, you have your
Mm-hmm.
card holders. So literally I'm so extra with it. I'm literally crocheting right now a little dice bag that has a froggy on it.
That's
So like
amazing.
I'm making it into the Froggy Crossing aesthetic, even though it's not supposed to be.
Mm-hmm.
So so I definitely still try to apply the aesthetic where I can, if I can, and go in, you know, just to make it more enjoyable for me personally.
Yeah, next you're going to tell us that you're going to start a D&D campaign where you are a frog person that wears a beret with like cute little coveralls and has like little tattoos, and like, I don't know, that you're like really tiny, but you like pack a wallop and you hit people with their own like toxic masculinity. I love that.
Oh my goodness.
I can't wait to see that dice bag. That's going to be really cute.
Oh yeah. Thank you. No, that's an idea. When are we gonna start the D&D campaign? Yeah.
I mean, I was actually thinking about starting, like, no joke, I was thinking that would be really fun to have a D&D campaign with a bunch of other content creators, like a one-off, and seeing like what their characters would be, drawing them out. That'd be hilarious. I love that.
Critical Role, but like Animal Crossing YouTuber edition.
Yes, and it's like in the Animal Crossing world, and so it's like you arrive at Tom Nook and he has like these things that you have to do, and if you don't, then like you have to work in the at the Roost forever. Oh my god, actually that sounds amazing.
This is an idea here.
Yes, right.
So we have to capitalize on this.
We absolutely do. But you know, the Wizards of the Coast have been kind of a problem recently with trying to own rule sets. But anyway. Oh my god. Okay, I got off topic. I'm sure that you have already mentioned where your love of frogs came from. I have the two questions about the frogs and the squishmallows, but where did the name Froggy Crossing come from, and why do you focus specifically on your love of frogs and how it applies to just about everything from squishmallows to the villagers you love to a failed Nintendo frog-oriented game that you played and you said was awful?
Oh my goodness, the memories. Yeah, so specifically the Froggy Crossing handle came around 2020. I can't remember the exact month, but it was before I started my YouTube channel. So somewhere in between March and June, somewhere, I kept seeing Animal Crossing Twitter accounts. Everybody was on Animal Crossing Twitter. I'm seeing people dropping dodo codes and trading, and I'm like, I want in on this, please. So I went ahead and started to make a Twitter account just for Animal Crossing. And I saw that the kind of format that everybody was using was something crossing. So I was like, okay, what's going to be my thing? You know, I was like, I could just do my name, Raven Crossing. That was my first idea, but I was like, like, do I really want to have my name in it? I don't know. It didn't really have this ring to it. And I was like, okay, like, start going down the list of stuff that I love. You know, first obvious answer is cats. I've always loved cats, always grown up with cats. Have my two little fur babies. But I was like, Kitty Crossing. I was like, I feel like everybody, I feel like I've seen Kitty Crossing. I don't know. So then I was thinking, okay, I really like snails. What about Snail Crossing? That's kind of like too niche. So then I landed on frogs. I don't know why I was going through animals. I just was. This is my thought process as I'm sitting like on Twitter, like trying to come up with it, making my account. So I settled on Froggy Crossing because I just have always liked frogs. I don't necessarily know where the frog love came from. I guess just always. Like I was just born with it. Maybe she's Maybelline. I don't know.
Maybe she's Froggy Crossing.
Maybe she's Froggy Crossing. So that's kind of just that was my process when making a Twitter account. And when I decided to start doing YouTube, I was like, okay, I already have this Froggy Crossing Twitter. I'll just steal the name. Why not? So that's kind of that's the origin story. That's the backstory.
Okay, I don't know the histories of Squishmallow. I'm the sort of hipster that you really have to take me kicking and screaming into something that's adorable but super popular. And so I found my Squishmallow journey was that I found the rainbow one, like the really big one. I think that her name's Belina, and rainbows are really important to me just because of my my trying to conceive journey had, you know, a lot of losses. So like the rainbow is really important to me. And so I was really curious how like did the Squishmallows just kind of slowly just thrust their importance into your channel? Did you start the Squishmallow journey by like looking for all the frogs? Like I would love to hear how this focus on specific characters, specific sizes, specific colors, and how that kind of happened.
Sure. Yeah, definitely. I take any opportunity to info dump about Squishmallows.
Go for it. Yes.
So okay, so let's see. So actually, I'm gonna start bringing Tiger into this. Another Animal Crossing YouTuber.
I love Tiger.
Yeah, so we kind of became friends. We talk a lot and everything like that. So I don't even remember when. Anyway, besides the point, she was into Squishmallows before me, and she would show me her Squishmallow. She would send me pictures. Look at this one I just got. And I'm like, oh my god, this is so cute. Whatever. I had heard of Squishmallows vaguely, kind of like, okay, it's a collector thing, all right. But I always thought they were cute. I just didn't really, dip the toes in yet.
Mm-hmm.
So one Easter, I believe it was 2021. Yes,
Mm-hmm.
2021 Easter. They came out with these little clips, these little keychains of a chicken and a cow, and they're wearing little bandanas, little keychains.
Mm-hmm.
I saw those and I was like, this is it. I have to have them. I need to have them. So I literally woke up at like 7 in the morning when I knew that my Walgreens was going to restock. And I am a noon sleeper. I wake up at noon. So this was an event for me. And I literally ran to this Walgreens and got the fresh box of all the keychains that they just put out. And it was like, that just like broke down all the walls, and the interest came flooding in. The Squishmallow desires just came flooding in, and that kind of snowballed. So Tiger pretty much got me into them, and then she actually sent me her own personal frog to me.
Aw.
She gifted it to me. Which one is it? It's the one with the yellow belly, like the I'm trying to point to it. That one right there.
The big one.
Yeah, I still have it. So she gave me my first frog, and it was very special. Still is very special to me. So she also kickstarted the specific frog obsession, but it all kind of aligned anyway because I was already very into frogs. I was already had the Froggy Crossing YouTube channel that was already kind of focused on frogs. So I was like, okay, there's frog squishmallows. Yeah, give me all of them. Sure, let's go. And of course, I also started to cultivate the Squishmallow collection based off of my personal aesthetic and just what brought me joy and everything like that. And it just happens to be that lots of color brings me joy, and just the size thing specifically is just kind of like a Squishmallow collecting thing in general, I would say. Either that or I don't know, maybe it's a me thing, I have no idea, but I just love certain sizes. I like to have like the small little ones, and I like to have like duplicates of them because I just want them to be like a giant family. I think you know what, now that I think about it, I think it all goes back to my Webkins days, because I would role play with the Webkins and like have them be a family. So I think I'm connecting dots right now as we speak. So that's kind of how all that started. Pretty much because of Tiger. So you can blame Tiger.
It's all Tiger's fault. Hashtag blame Tiger. It also sounds, I mean, I'm not a psychiatrist or a therapist, but it does sound, again, Squishmallows apply a level of healing that it is connecting a family, having all shapes and sizes in one sitting that are perfectly like in their respective spectrum, and it feels complete. And so this has nothing to do with the aesthetic, but when I watch your videos, and especially when you do some spring cleaning, whenever you do it, it's like you were pulling all of the Squishmallows onto the floor. I know that Squishmallow are going to be part of your life for a very long time, but I do notice that there are instances where you're like, okay, there's too much Squishmallow. We need to curate this a little bit. So I think a follow-up for the Squishmallow question is, one, why are you not being sponsored by Squishmallow? Because I think it's all your fault that the majority of the people in Animal Crossing want to have Squishmallow now. And two, is Froggy Crossing as the aesthetic a stepping stone to something a little bit more, I don't want to say evolved, but is it going to have a glowing up component? I don't want to sound like I really overthink and I worry about calling what you do as young, but Froggy Crossing is a very specific niche that really is curated to a certain style and a certain, I would say, a person that likes to watch your content. So how is the approach to Squishmallow as you start like changing your aesthetic and changing your collection? What is that going to mean for Froggy Crossing 5 years from now, 3 years from now, 10 years from now?
since the core of just Froggy Crossing is just like whatever's bringing me joy,
Mhm.
I like to imagine that if this wouldn't bring me joy anymore, like you said, then we would just stop doing it. So maybe if for some reason in 10 years I get sick and tired of looking at a rainbow all over the room, maybe I transition my Squishmallow collection to more of like the neutral ones, like the ones that you have,
Mhm.
more of like the woodland ones, and they're kind of a little bit more toned down and stuff
Mhm.
like that. But I don't really think about it too much.
No, it's
But
okay.
I'm sure that the aesthetic will evolve. I'm sure I'll find some way to keep it changing and keep it up to date with just
Mhm.
what my audience is going to want to see, where my audience is at, like currently in their lives, where I'm at currently in my life.
Mhm.
Currently, as we keep saying, the inner child healing. I'm on this journey.
Mhm.
So maybe when that's over, things will change. I don't know, but I can't imagine that will be over fairly
Anytime soon,
quickly.
yeah.
Yeah.
Well, and then there's the whole hope for another Animal Crossing game within the next few years, in which case it like starts up all over again. So
Exactly.
I don't know if I had asked this question specifically about the aesthetic crisis of your everyday life, where you were trying to figure out how to. I apologize if this sounds demeaning, but like adultify your image, you know, where you were talking about wanting
Oh
to
yeah.
dress more professionally, things that were
Mhm.
more suited to various parts of your life that you could like walk into any room and, you know, you could fit in immediately.
Yeah.
How did the aesthetic crisis for your everyday life bleed over into Froggy Crossing, if any at all?
So I wouldn't say that it did. I kind of say it's maybe the opposite,
Mm-hmm.
actually. So yeah, the style crisis specifically that you're mentioning is like, yeah, when I'm out and about, like say that I have to go to like, I don't know, some like business office or like a lawyer or something. I don't know why I went that extreme, but if I have to go somewhere, you know, like I want to be taken seriously. Before I started YouTube, I really feel like I didn't know how to dress. I mean, I was still in like my early 20s. I was still like figuring it out, but I never
Yeah.
had like a cultivated style. I was like the leggings and like the skinny jeans and like a shirt, and that's as far as I would go.
Mm-hmm.
So definitely like, you know, going back to when I started my Kid Core Island and the whole Froggy Crossing aesthetic really developed, like I really started leaning into kind of like my own style for Froggy Crossing, and, you know, just kind of like the bright colors and everything, which I would say is still my own personal style, but I really heighten it for Froggy Crossing videos, of
Mm-hmm.
course. But, you know, sometimes, as we discussed earlier, that can't be worn out and about every single day,
Mm-hmm.
not practical sometimes. Or if I want to, you know, go to like some professional thing, I always don't necessarily want to show up in like this cardigan that I literally got in the kids section at Target. Sometimes I just want to be a little bit more elevated, because I don't
Mm-hmm.
find anything wrong with dressing like this, you know, like I feel like any age can dress however they want, and that should be totally fine. But occasionally I would like to just feel a little more adultish, I guess,
Mm-hmm.
adultified.
Elevated. I like the word
So
elevated. Yeah, that's a
elevated,
good word
yeah.
for it. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So I would definitely say that because this is where I was starting with, this was my basis, like the fun colors and stuff like that. I
Mm-hmm.
was trying to kind of keep that same core of like, oh, colors, expressing myself, but just kind of adultify it a little bit. So
Mm-hmm.
that's where the crisis, that was the core of the crisis, basically.
Yeah.
Figuring out how to take my personal style and just make it more wearable and make it
Mm-hmm.
more something that I can wear in certain situations. If I'm going, I don't even go anywhere anyways. But
Who goes out these days? Who
I know,
peoples? Yeah.
I
Well,
know.
it's really hard because I think we often describe being elevated or being adult as like losing all forms of color. And
Hmm.
I think that your crisis is more about the fact that society does not welcome or celebrate color when you are an adult, because it's kind of like we start in our pre-K kindergarten classrooms and they're filled with rainbows and they're filled with toys and
Hmm.
they're filled with all of these things that just brighten the mind and the heart. And then we're in college and it's like we're looking down at a professor who's like maybe this tall, and everything, there's no pictures, there's nothing, there's no color. And I think the crisis is it's really hard to find things that are that rainbow aesthetic that still feel elevated, because
Hmm.
like I can only imagine how frustrating it is to try to find a pink color that doesn't, you know, fade away when you are in your 30s or 40s. So
Yeah.
is that something that provided a level of emotional distress for you that you couldn't, or you felt like you couldn't apply the core aesthetic of froggy crossing to adult clothing?
Definitely. Yeah. I kind of like, again, the crisis part of it. I felt like I had two ends of two extremes. I could either be super bright and colorful and like fun cardigans, crazy outfits, crazy colors that I love, and that's kind of like my core inner child expression,
Yeah.
or it was like a hoodie and jeans, and I didn't have an in between there. So like, if I'm trying to like just go out somewhere, if I'm just hanging out with friends, I have this crisis every time I stand in front of my closet. Like, what do I do? Because it's either boring and not expressing myself, which I don't want to just be boring 24/7, you know, for groceries, sure, but not 24/7, or just the total opposite, just like explosion, everything, you know. So that's definitely where the crisis part came from. I just didn't know how to bridge that gap, really.
Did you look up certain, like, either other content creators or certain styles to help kind of bridge that gap?
Yes, I cannot remember the name. There's a few TikTokers that I looked at, who like really incorporated like fun printed skirts into an outfit. So I felt like, okay, skirts are, you know, maybe that can be a little more elevated. So I definitely took inspiration from like TikTok and stuff when trying to find things, trying to find clothes and different accessories and stuff like that.
There's somebody in the chat who's saying that they really relate to what you're saying because they work in education and that they often feel that they have to mute what they look like in order to be professional. And I think that's also really hard when you are, your uterus owning, you identify as a woman, and we always feel for safety reasons that we have to mute ourselves because we don't want to be on the receiving end of harassment. And unfortunately, with the childlike whimsy that you embody, people will often make the assumption that you are easy pickings, and that's terrifying. That's so scary. I mean, I mean, do you did talk about that you get approached in Target and stuff. Like, is there a follow-up where you wonder, is what I'm going to wear going to get me harassed or hurt in some way if you're out by yourself?
Definitely. Unfortunately, it's so stupid that like certain clothing items, I feel like, hey, maybe I shouldn't wear this because it could lead to something, like I live in Florida. It's hot all the time. And unfortunately, like, to stay cool, sometimes, you gotta wear tank tops. You gotta wear the crop tops. You have to wear the shorts. Otherwise, you are dying. And unfortunately, yeah, sometimes I feel like, okay, maybe I can't wear this fun tank top that I want to wear because I'm going out by myself, or yeah, it's just it's that second guess, the guessing game of like, will I be okay? I don't know. Will this lead to something? I don't know. It's a very unfortunate reality.
Does that also apply to accessories? Because I think we were also talking about how your earrings, you have the most beautiful earring collection I've ever seen. The fact that you did it in like rainbow spectrum, like I think I've seen, are those crayon earrings actually crayons? Like literally crayons? Are you
Yes.
Yes. That's incredible. Do you also have to apply like worrying about what purse you wear, what earrings you choose, the way that you create your face with eyeshadows and everything? Does that also apply to whether or not you feel safe doing that?
Say accessories more or less so. Just because I feel like clothing is really where, like, we can accentuate our bodies and accentuate maybe certain parts of us and stuff like that, which should be fine for the record, but people have to be creepy about it. But
alas.
I feel like with it, yeah, alas, I feel like with accessories, it's not really that same kind of like accentuation. And yeah, I mean, I feel like if I wore like little crayon earrings and they led to something, I would just be concerned, I guess. I mean, I'm concerned either way, but I feel like that's less of an opportunity to I don't know, lead to something, I guess, with earrings and
Mhm.
accessories and stuff like that.
What comments can you recall on your channel, positive or negative or both, that have been focused on your aesthetic that have either led to encouraging you to find a way to bridge the elevated version of your aesthetic or making you like further questioning your crisis? I'm basically asking if you've had nice and mean comments about your aesthetic on your channel and how that's impacted you as a content creator.
Yeah. Well, thankfully, I'm so lucky that my audience is absolutely fantastic, and I don't really get mean comments. So I'm so grateful for that. Everyone who watches me is an absolute sweetheart, absolute saint. Any negative comments I do get are usually not about my appearance, thankfully. On YouTube, we can get into that. On YouTube.
Who am I taking a bat to the kneecaps, Raven? Just give me the name. I will do it.
Oh
or
my
Squishmallow to the kneecaps, I guess.
My freaking Instagram reel comments.
Oh.
Yeah, I had one, a little bit of a tangent. I had one Instagram reel that popped off. It was like, or on TikTok too, but on Instagram reels is where people are just unhinged for some reason. It was where I don't know if you saw it. I made a Squishmallow into a top. Like
I did see that, the butterfly one.
Yes. So there was a few people, understandably outside of my niche, who didn't really get it, and I did get some like, "Oh, you look like a child" comments. So,
wow,
you know, Instagram Reels, a little bit of a scary place. I try not to read the comments if it gets like more than like 20,000 views, because then I'm like, okay, it's getting outside of my niche, and there's gonna be people who don't know me and don't know the style. So, yeah, that's like really the only place where I've that one reel got some comments, and I was like, okay, but I knew it wasn't people who supported me or anything like that. It was just randos. But definitely there's been so many positive comments that have just encouraged me to keep going, and saying that they love my style, saying that they love my earrings, saying that they love the Squishmallow background, saying that they love the, you know, aesthetic that I've been creating on Animal Crossing. They love the kidcore. They're doing kidcore because of me. They love the farmcore. They're doing farmcore because of me. So stuff like that really encourages me to keep going. You complimented my eyeshadow earlier today, and there was one comment that has stuck in my mind since I read it. And it was someone saying that, like, oh, like the blue eyeshadow like really accentuates your features. And I was like,
it really does.
That went straight to my head, gassed me up so much. And I'm like, okay, maybe I do like blue eyeshadow now. And now I'm like always putting it on because I'm like, that one commenter said it accentuated my features. So, well, people leave me the sweetest things.
Let's talk about the inspiration. So I'm obviously very aesthetic with like lesbian lumberjack, but you know, I'm married to, yeah, you know, so it's like, I love plaid. I love muted color tones. And that's mostly because I have been afraid to really push the envelope of what makes me uncomfortable, and seeing like how I can change the way that I look. And what I love about your content, Raven, is it is an act of defiance, because you are saying, you know, I don't care what society is going to push to me. I'm going to do what I like, and I'm going to try new things. And it's scary. And that is truly just so inspiring. And I know that that is one of the main reasons why people keep coming back, aside from the Squishmallow mayhem that happens, aside from the humor that you embody in every single video with Animal Crossing. I do love the whole panning in of like, welcome back to another video. I love that. But your glasses are so cute. And I've been like, what if I like changed up my glasses to being like a kooky color or like clear? And I think that's something that you remind us, that patriarchy sucks. But the fact that you are a continuing, like a constant voice of do what you like, do what brings you joy. And if it doesn't bring you joy, don't do it anymore, and screw what other people say, but also be safe. Right. So I guess we are kind of tuning into like the last part of this interview. And I would like to ask, what do you think people should consider about an aesthetic when starting their own, like their own brand, their own channel, their own content, or is that even necessary?
Yeah. So I definitely would say to think about it, to consider it, to keep it in mind. It definitely doesn't have to be something that you figure out right away. It took me about a year of being on YouTube and making content to kind of like narrow it down and you know, get all these squishmallows. It takes time, you know. But I would definitely say, like you said, you know, if it brings you joy, keep at it. If it doesn't bring you joy, if it doesn't bring you happiness, like don't force yourself. If you're trying to go with an aesthetic right out the gate and you're like, this is kind of try something else. Don't be afraid to switch it up. Do something new. Like I started off with a fairycore island. I thought that fairycore was going to be like my aesthetic, you know, but that just wasn't the case. Before I started YouTube, like right before, I was trying to be a minimalist girly.
Ooh,
me was trying to be a minimalist girly. I was starting to make a capsule wardrobe. Who even is that? That's not me. So
I could never.
There's yeah, it didn't last very long. It didn't. So definitely don't be afraid to change things up. You know, like if it's not working for you, capsule wardrobe did not work for me. So don't be afraid to just work on things, experiment, find something that brings you joy, stick with it, ride on with it, and it'll start to evolve. You'll start to get more comfortable. You'll start to find little things here and there that you're like, okay, I do like this. Okay, that's nice. Okay, I don't like that. Let's not do that. And really at the end of the day, going back to the core of everything, do what makes you happy, do what brings you passion. You know, if you're focusing on healing your inner child, that's also great. You can incorporate stuff like that, but if not, that's fine too. And I guess more of like the nitty gritty and less kind of overall, less oh my goodness, what is the word escaping me? Less broad. A less broad point to talk about is I have also tried to identify things within my brand also to kind of incorporate. I've tried to identify things in my content to apply to my brand. And I feel like that's something that happens kind of naturally. Like, for example, chicken Alfredo, bread tags, boba squishmallows. These are all things that have been a part of my brand that I did not even intend to make as part of my brand. I mean, I didn't intend to eat that bread tag either, but that's a whole different thing. So like I definitely recommend to, like, as you're creating content, if it's your first time creating content or whether you're been doing it for years, try to identify these little things that your audience starts identifying with. Like, hey, people made some comments about that. That's cute. Like, hey, people like that color that I use in this specific thing. Hey, people liked that joke about chicken Alfredo. Let's
or
run
the
it to
hot
the
dog
ground.
water.
Or the hot dog water. Let's actually drink some hot dog water for charity. Why not? Let's just do it.
God, the level of sodium that you must have taken in during that time must have been awful.
It was an interesting time for sure. But definitely try to take notes of those little things, because I feel like really leaning into them and embracing them, you know, as long as it makes you happy and comfortable is definitely a huge plus, you know? I ate a bread tag. I just got to own it at this point, because what else can you do?
Wait,
you know?
Wait, is that what that comment was, Koi? The bread tag extra source? You actually ate a bread tag, like legitimately?
You don't know the bread tag story?
I don't know the bread tag story. I thought that you just collected bread tags, like Squishmallows. There's like this little jar of bread. You ate a bread tag?
Well, now I have to tell the story.
You have to tell the story. You are obligated contractually.
Okay. So for anyone else who doesn't know as well, unfortunately, there was a vlog that I made where I was making a smoothie, right? I'm chopping banana straight from the banana into the blender, and a piece of banana, it falls on the counter. What I don't notice is that there is a bread tag on the counter. The banana falls directly on top of the bread tag. And because it's like kind of sticky, it sticks. So I pick up the piece, I put it back in the blender. I don't notice the bread tag is stuck to it. But the angle that my camera was at picked it up. It caught the other side of it. So you literally see it. You see it in the blender in my vlog. Anyways, I blend that smoothie. I drink the entire thing because it was my breakfast, and I go on about my day. And then I edit that entire vlog. I don't notice that a bread tag is in my smoothie. And I post that vlog. I don't notice there's a bread tag in my smoothie. And then I'm getting flooded with comments of, Raven, was that a bread tag in your smoothie? And I'm like, what are you talking about? I go back, I watch the footage. I'm like, what are you talking about? I don't see any. Oh my God, that's a bread tag in my smoothie. And then I post about it on Twitter. Of course, that's the tweet that blows up. Now everybody knows I ate a bread tag. So yeah, I ate a bread tag. I just have to own it at this point.
If it's any consolation, speaking of things that I've put into smoothies that I have had regrets for, you know, like those little like fresher tag things that says "do not consume."
Yes.
I've done that, and that was
no.
oh, I don't recommend it. The bread tag was probably better for you, because I was just like, why does this taste? And it ruined. I didn't eat the entire thing, so at least you got to have your enjoyment of your smoothie. I didn't like die, obviously, but if it helps you, we are things that we should not put in a smoothie team now, and I'm sure that there's a lot of people who've accidentally put things in their smoothies that they regret. So help Raven and I feel better by letting us know that you've done it too. That'd be great.
Please.
Yeah. Oh my gosh.
So
yeah,
just taking it back to the original question. So stuff like that was just like a total accident. That's just like, you know, maybe people wouldn't embrace the fact that they've consumed microplastics, but I decided to, because it's like all my comments were filled with. So, you know, I have like a bread tag designed on my freaking FarmCore island now. Whatever, you know, let's do it. I've been saving up bread tags in a jar so I can make a video of like making bread tag art. Let's freaking do it. That would be really
cool. I like that. Bread tag earrings would be really nice too.
Yes. Oh, it's in the works. It's in the works.
Love
so yeah, definitely for anyone who's starting off creating content, or even if you've been creating content, just try to find that passion. Try to narrow down those things that really bring you joy, and like identify with you as a person, and just embrace the silliness. Embrace it.
So one thing I think would be a really interesting collaboration, and I'll reach out to other content creators, and if you want to participate, you're more than welcome to. You don't have to say yes or no on camera, but I think it'd be really cool to do a design in Animal Crossing that is completely opposite of what you like and what you do. So for example, EJ could not do any Rust at all whatsoever. Kato couldn't do you know, really nature oriented, would probably have to do city core. You would have to do something minimalist. I would have to do I don't know what I'd have to do, like probably city core or something. But I think that'd be really interesting to really push why certain styles make us uncomfortable and why we love and celebrate what makes us happy. So that would be really interesting. And you are more than welcome just to do it yourself if that applies to your channel and you'd like to do that. But I think that'd be really cool to do something different.
Oh,
but,
yeah, 100%. That would be such a struggle, but, you know, that's what people like to see.
I know, like the struggle, the panning in, like, what am I doing with my life? Having that crisis, internalized screaming, crying. Eating bread tags for comfort, you know.
Yeah, exactly.
So, Raven, we are, I think, at the end of our interview. Thank you so much for coming and sharing your story. I have been just bouncing up and down for a week, really excited to hear what you had to say. The final question that I have, and perhaps the most important question, is who would you like to see on Gamers Gab, and what would the topic be?
Well, I know we mentioned bullying Kato. I would love to see Kato come on, and if Kato would be comfortable talking about it, I would love to hear about kind of how she approaches being a content creator, and also being a mom, being a wife, and having a job, and kind of like that balance. Like, I feel like I would not even breathe. I wouldn't even breathe a single moment of any day. So I would love to hear like how she manages all of that, like, you know, time-wise, physically, mentally, anything like that. That would be awesome.
Kato, this is literally the third person. I'm just letting you know, and I'm going to be reaching out to you eventually. just letting you know. But Raven, where can we go support you? What links? Where should we find your amazing brand and the like?
That'll just be Froggy Crossing over on YouTube. I think everything is just Froggy Crossing except for Instagram, which is Froggy Crossing Official. But just giving a video a view, that's the best way to support me. Just click on it. Maybe even click like if you want. If you're feeling
subscribe, you know, if you're feeling spicy.
If you're feeling spicy, yeah.
Well, Raven, truly a delight, a privilege. I like, you don't need anyone's validation, but your ascent into your business know-how has been an incredible thing to witness, and I wish you the best in the world, and I look forward to hearing about your scholarship if that goes through, and just how it evolves. I mean, you have a freaking coloring book. You're basically like legit. That's amazing.
Thank you. No, thank you so much. I really appreciate it, and thank you for being a wonderful host.
Oh, thank you.
You made me feel so comfortable and
Awesome.
free to express whatever stuff that I usually wouldn't really talk about on my channel. So thank you so much. I really appreciate you having me on.
Thank you. All right, friends, you know the drill. Like, subscribe, do all the spicy stuff, support everything that Raven does. And with that, we'll catch you next time. Bye.